The debate over a proposed North County landfill is over tonight. A local tribe has stepped in to end it.
We're out here in front of the federal building where early preparations are underway for a trial that could bring the president-elect to San Diego.
The federal government is changing course on what to do about Haitian immigrants coming to the border, many of them here in San Diego.
It's kind of hard to get over. It definitely makes me think differently about who I'm friends with and those kind of conversations. It's definitely a lot tougher, but I don't know. We'll still have to come together.
We talked to San Diego college students trying to come to terms with the election. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. More than 20 years of controversy over a proposed North County landfill is over. A local tribe bought back part of the site today for $13 million. KPBS North County reporter Allison St. John has the story.
Twice, San Diego voters approved a plan to build a landfill in Gregory Canyon, the first time back in 1994 and then again in 2004. But for more than 20 years, it's been vigorously opposed, mainly by the Pala Band of Mission Indians, which has a casino right next door on Highway 76. Now, many of the Native American bands in our county regard Gregory Mountain as sacred, being the ancestral home of one of their spirit ancestors. They were scandalized at the idea of putting a dump right on its slopes. They and other opponents also argue that the San Luis Rey River that runs right underneath the site would eventually get polluted. The band relies on groundwater, and the city of Oceanside also uses reclaimed groundwater connected to that aquifer. Robert Smith, chairman of the Pala Band, says its members voted this week to go ahead with the $13 million land purchase to stop the dump.
Yeah, it's been fighting it over 20 years, but the main thing is, protecting our water source and ancestral burial grounds there and village, so it's a great accomplishment for the tribe.
The original investors had such trouble getting permits for the project that they eventually foreclosed, and a San Diego investment company, Sovereign Capital, bought the land last year for just pennies on the dollar. Now, Todd Michaels with Sovereign Capital calls the effort to build a landfill a, quote, black hole for previous investors, and estimates they lost over $100 million on the scheme. Michael says Sovereign Capital still owns about 1,000 acres, and he says their next plan is to build a residential and commercial development in the valley. Their goal is to put an initiative on the ballot in 2018, and part of the agreement with the Pala Band is that they will not oppose the project. Allison St. John, KPBS News.
Tomorrow, a federal judge in San Diego will hear arguments on whether to reschedule the Trump University fraud trial. Right now, it's scheduled to start just after Thanksgiving. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh is following the case. He's standing by outside the federal courthouse where Judge Gonzalo Curel is scheduled to hear the case. Steve?
Well, that's right, Ebony. I'm in front of the federal courthouse where tomorrow Judge Gonzalo Curiel will look at whether or not he'll decide whether or not to move the federal court case involving Trump University. This is a class action lawsuit. Right now it's scheduled to go ahead on November 24th. But lawyers for Trump are urging the judge to move this beyond the inauguration, saying that he is right now very busy with the transition. Lawyers for the students of Trump University, they're saying that this trial has already been moved once. The judge moved it in September to not conflict with the presidential campaign. They want to see this go ahead. At the moment, actually just this afternoon, we were meeting behind closed doors, the media was, with Judge Curiel. We went over some of the ground rules for this trial. There'll be a couple of different overflow rooms. They're expecting a very large crowd here, as you can imagine, especially if the president-elect ends up testifying in this case. There'll be no live tweeting in the courtroom, things like that. So at the moment, they're preparing for the notion that this trial will go ahead. Though I will say last week the judge did urge the two sides to settle in this case. Now, November 24th trial date, just after Thanksgiving, doesn't give you a lot of time to do that. Though, on the other hand, this is one of only several cases that Trump is involved with around the country, civil suits. So It's already been ruled back in the 1990s in the Paula Jones case that the president has no right to move civil suits beyond his term. So at some point, these trials will go forward if they're not settled. Reporting live from the federal court building in downtown San Diego, Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Thanks. Utility bills, groceries, even a visit to the nail salon can be found on a new list of charges made by Congressman Duncan Hunter to his campaign account. He has now reimbursed the campaign for about $60,000. The list of expenses has been posted online by the Federal Elections Commission. They include 32 separate charges from United Airlines totaling more than $6,000, another $6,100 to Costco, and charges of more than $1,000 each to Cox Communications and SDG&E. The nail salon charges added up to just over $100. Hunter's campaign says the charges were inadvertent and that changes have been made to ensure it doesn't happen again. The campaign for Congressman Issa says it has faith the registrar of voters will count ballots properly. This comes one day after the North County Republican sent out a fundraising letter and tweet asking supporters to make sure the election doesn't get stolen from him. That letter raised questions about the counting of provisional ballots. In an email, an Issa spokesman told KPBS it's standard practice for both teams to have legal experts help review provisional ballots. To be sure everything is square, Issa is currently leading in his re-election bid by 2 points over Democrat Doug Applegate. This year's lengthy ballot may have cost voters some headaches to fill out, and now it seems it will also cost taxpayer dollars. Counties statewide will have to pay for ballots that were sent by mail but not properly stamped. Mail-in ballots dropped off without a stamp are still delivered by the Postal Service. Officials say it's a Democratic fail-safe that will cost a little more than usual this year. The amount varies among California's 58 counties. Election officials in Sacramento County expect to pay about $1,000 in stamps, while in San Joaquin County, they expect to pay about $10,000. A week after the elections, student walkouts and protests continue, and students at SDSU tell me they're still working to come together after campaigning for different parties.
We did our part, I guess, as a community. There was nothing more that we could have done, I don't think.
Still, it hurts nonetheless.
Yeah, it was very disheartening.
Divya Shahara is the president of College Democrats of SDSU. She understands why students, including ones at state, are protesting the election of Donald Trump.
It's more than politics because, for Romney, for McCain, it wouldn't have been like this, but this is, them actively supporting, someone who said racist things, and then it's just well, when you see me, what do you think? Or, a Muslim student.
Shaharan says the divide between students who support Trump and those who don't isn't shrinking.
And they keep telling me oh, well, his policies aren't actually going to do that. He's not going to do what he says. But because they're white and because they're men, they have the privilege of thinking that because it's not going to affect them either way.
Conservative is a relative term. A lot of people assume that automatically just means being pro-life, pro-Second Amendment.
Jordan Dennison is the chairman of the college Republicans at SDSU. He says the GOP is more than President-elect Donald Trump.
I don't want to say he represents the entire party. He's one man, and there are plenty of Republicans out there, millennials and elected officials, who have a new message for the country. It's something that's more hopeful and something that's more inclusive.
Dennison says while students have the right to protest, he thinks finding common ground is more effective.
One of the terms I've used as a millennial Republican is making the GOP for the future a big tent party, being inclusive to the LGBT community, understanding women's rights better, especially me being a white, straight male.
It's kind of hard to get over. Definitely makes me think differently about who I'm friends with and those kind of conversations. It's definitely a lot tougher, but I don't know. We'll still have to come together.
The head of the California State University system is pledging to make those campuses a safe and welcoming environment for all students, including those living in this country illegally. Chancellor Tim White says the CSU will not enter into any agreements to enforce the federal immigration law, and campus police will not honor immigration hold requests. But he's not saying the schools are sanctuaries. In a letter to students and staff, he says the term sanctuary in many contexts is ambiguous, and using it would be misleading to to the very people we support and serve. Earlier this week, Los Angeles Police Chief Charlie Beck said in no uncertain terms his officers would not help President-elect Donald Trump deport millions of immigrants who are living in this country illegally. KPBS reporter Megan Burks talked with San Diego law enforcement officials about Trump's plan and has this report.
The San Diego Police and Sheriff's Department say their policies on immigration enforcement will not change under a Trump presidency. Currently, neither agency checks the immigration status of those they encounter. However, federal immigration officials remain stationed in sheriff booking facilities where they may independently take enforcement action. And fingerprints taken by local jurisdictions still go into an FBI database shared with immigration agencies. Many officials across the country are working to ease the fears of immigrants after President-elect Donald Trump doubled down on a plan to deport individuals living in the country illegally. He said on 60 Minutes Sunday he would start with those who have committed crimes. The nonpartisan Migration Policy Institute estimates that population at 820,000. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
You can read the full statements from San Diego Police and the Sheriff's Department on our website, kpbs.org. California students living in the state illegally may see new opportunities for financial aid. The state's Student Aid Commission is considering pushing for a bill that would organize a state-based work-study program for these students. Currently, the DREAM Act provides some funds to cover higher education, but student aid officials say it's just not enough.
When we offer students a Cal Grant, they may not take it because it's not enough to really allow them to afford a college education. So the idea is to propose a work-study program for Dreamers that the Commission would administer and provide to the entire state for the students that want to work and help pay for their education.
Officials say to qualify for the program, students must have been California residents for at least 3 years, attended high school in the state, and must be seeking legal status. Data shows about 2 million people in California live illegally. U.S. immigration officials have started releasing Haitians from detention centers due to limited space and an ongoing surge in the number of Haitian immigrants trying to arrive through Mexico. KPBS's Frontiers reporter Jean Guerrero has the story.
A U.S. government official told the Associated Press today that Haitians are once more being released into the country, with a notice to appear in immigration court. That reverses a decision made about a month and a half ago, when Homeland Security said it was going to start placing new arrivals in detention centers and deporting them. Hundreds of Haitians have been placed in detention centers since then, but there's no more space, and tens of thousands more are on their way. Most are arriving through the San Ysidro port of entry, where they turn themselves into immigration officials with the hope of being released. Thousands of Haitians have entered since the spring, journeying through Latin America's most dangerous countries to get here. Many had relocated to Brazil after the devastating 2010 earthquake in Haiti. Recent economic and political turmoil in Brazil has led them to turn north. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
State officials are taking a serious look at the future of covered California. Under a Trump administration, President-elect Donald Trump says he plans to repeal the Affordable Health Care Act, and some lawmakers argue if the state allows for the state's health care exchange to be dismantled, millions of Californians could be without health care. But Covered California's Pete Lee says everyone's insurance is locked down at least until 2017.
Covered California's open. The insurance is on the books, it's on contract, the subsidies are there for 2017, and probably in different form for a long time to come.
Enrollment in Covered California continues through January 31st. Those who enrolled by December 15th will receive coverage starting on the 1st of the year. Nurses at Sharp healthcare facilities in San Diego County are planning to strike. The union announced today nurses will walk off the job for 3 days, starting on November 28th, saying low pay has caused high employee turnover at Sharp, and it comes a week after nurses voted to reject the company's final offer. Management says Sharp has offered to increase base pay by 16 to 26% over 3 years. Nurses plan to be back on the job by December 1st.
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
About 200 skilled trade workers at UC San Diego took to the picket lines today. Electricians, mechanics, and facility workers there are represented by the Teamsters Union. They began their 24-hour strike a day after several hundred of their counterparts at UCLA took similar action.
Well, we've been trying to negotiate a contract that expired in September of 2015. These guys have been at the bargaining table since the beginning of 2015, trying to negotiate fairer wages, protection for their health benefits and their retirement, and improvements in their contract to protect them for their rights at the workplace.
Workers say they're paid less than the prevailing wage and have gone more than 4 years without a raise. Some El Cajon residents want to know why it took until now for the state to tell them about a toxic plume running under their homes. Last night, they took those questions to a meeting with state officials. The story from Ingrid Lobet and Megan Wood with our media partner, iNews Source.
State officials say they don't believe that a toxic groundwater plume that temporarily closed Magnolia Elementary School last year represents a danger for mobile home residents next door. But they called a meeting because recent testing shows chemicals in the soil right on the fence line of the mobile community. So now they plan to test the air inside 19 homes.
And we were not aware that there was a problem in it, and obviously having kids and recently bought it and not being advised of any problems around it, there was a concern in it.
The chemical in the plume is an industrial solvent, trichloroethylene, linked to cancer and sexual problems for men.
I mean, I haven't been able to really settle down with the thought that I live at a place that it could be sickening for my kids.
Testing 19 homes may be just a start. More than twice that many mobile homes sit above the worst part of the plume.
I understand if people are hesitant to, but there's plenty of us that are more than happy and willing to get it over with. Either tell us that we're completely good or tell us that we do have a problem.
But for now, it's wait until they find out whether the contamination that's been there since the 1960s has made it into their homes. For KPBS partner iNews Source, I'm Ingrid Lobet.
San Diego County is getting $750,000 as part of a multi-million-dollar settlement against the oil company British Petroleum. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has the story.
California, San Diego's district attorney, and 8 other district attorneys settled a long-running legal fight with the oil company that used to own most ARCO filling stations. British Petroleum is paying $14 million to settle the suit. The action involved more than 700 filling stations around the state. BP was accused of improperly monitoring, inspecting, and maintaining underground fuel storage tanks. San Diego Deputy District Attorney Mike Still says the state sued after the company failed to make timely corrections.
When there's violations of this nature, the first resort is not to litigation. It's to try to work with the gas station and its owner and to get them to fix the violations, to address the issues, whether it's paperwork or sensors or testing.
There were 74 BP-owned gas stations in San Diego County when the suit was filed. All have since been sold. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
A federal appeals court is rejecting a lawsuit over California law that says egg farmers have to give their chickens plenty of space. Back in 2008, voters approved a law to ensure that chickens have enough room to stretch out in their enclosures. The rule was challenged by 6 states who said it would put them at a competitive disadvantage and could force their farmers to stop selling in California. A panel of the appeals court says the states don't have the legal standing to challenge the law. San Diego scientists have restored partial vision to blind rats. KPBS science reporter David Wagner tells us about the significance of their new study.
The Salk Institute researchers devised a new approach to gene editing. It allows them to insert a gene that corrects a mutation which causes rats to go blind. The blind rats did not regain crystal clear vision, but they did do much better on vision tests than the untreated rats. Salk researcher Jun Wu says this technique is still in early stages, but it holds promise for one day treating genetic diseases in humans.
This is the first time that people can insert a DNA sequence in the adult tissue.
especially in the cells that are not dividing, such as the brain or the eye or muscle.
But the idea of using gene editing in humans attracts significant controversy. Wu says more studies are needed before trying this technique in people. David Wagner, KPBS News.
People in San Diego can expect some rain. Shanae Shocker has tonight's forecast.
Well, today was a pretty decent day for us here in Southern California, and especially in San Diego County. Not really seeing too much as far as the weather is concerned other than some sunshine. We've seen for tonight, we're looking forward to 53 degrees and mostly clear skies, which is always a nice evening for us. The rest of the county, as far as we head inland, we're looking at some cooler temperatures out towards Ramona. We have highs in the 30s or lows tonight in the 30s. That also includes out in Oceanside as well at 39 degrees. Mount Laguna even getting chillier, sitting in the mid 30s at 36. But as we head out towards Borrego Springs and into Mecca, once again, we're back into the low 40s for your Thursday night lows. Now, as we head towards Friday, we do have this big area of high pressure inland. Once again, that's bringing an offshore flow, but we do have a break coming towards the beginning of next week. Take a look. We have advancing rainfall with a pretty strong cold front. That's going to reach us later on, but until then, on Friday, that's when we're seeing some warmer weather. So once again, some of that rain reaching into parts of Southern California. We could be seeing a sprinkle or two. So as we head out on the coast, this is exactly how it's going to play out over the next 5 days. We stay into the 70s. That cold front really begins to approach us here on Sunday, and then on Monday, that's when it's going to sweep through the area. We have a couple of showers around possibly, and temperatures will drop down into the upper 60s. On your Tuesday, we're looking to be back into the low 70s. Plenty of sunshine to go around. Inland temperatures cool down just a bit more. We're looking at nearly a 15-degree drop from Friday into the beginning of next week on your Monday. We'll get into the mid-60s with a couple of showers as well. Our overnight lows will climb into the 50s for your Sunday and Monday, and then we'll return back to pretty normal weather for our Tuesday. Now, as we head into the mountains, very different out here. We climb into the 60s for your Saturday, and we have 56 degrees for your Sunday. Plenty of sunshine to go around out here. Very nice weather. But Monday, we're going to cool off once again. Now, highs here looking to be in the mid to upper 40s. So definitely getting pretty chilly out there. We're going to want to break out our jackets, put on those sweaters. We'll need them for Monday, and even into Tuesday, we'll stay into those 40s. And we head lastly out towards the deserts, and very nice weather out here. Plenty of sunshine for the end of your week and the first day of your weekend. On Saturday, looking to be near 80 degrees, so even getting pretty warm. As we head towards our Sunday, we'll stay in the upper 70s, but we'll begin to build in some cloud cover, especially on towards the later evening hours. Monday, once again, maybe a spotty shower or two throughout the day. Temperatures drop into the upper 60s. For KPBS News, I'm Shanae Shocker.
San Diego's Valley View Casino Center is celebrating 50 years in San Diego today. You might think of it as a sports arena. The venue has hosted thousands of concerts and sporting events since opening in 1966. But now the arena's management is looking for a new venue, one downtown.
The arena is very different than the stadium and other areas because it really will do 200 events a year, and that really does fill hotel rooms, and it really does generate a lot for the economy down there.
Center officials have had discussions with the city. They estimate a downtown arena would cost between $350 to $450 million and would seat around 17,000 people. Today, the Los Angeles Rams broke ground on their new stadium in Inglewood. It's being billed as the world's most expensive stadium at $2.6 billion. It's expected to open in 2019. The San Diego Chargers have an option to join the Rams in Inglewood. That option is open until early next year. American football is going south of the border next week for the first time in more than a decade. The Houston Texans will play the Oakland Raiders on Monday night in Mexico City. Matt Friedman of the Associated Press tells us why the NFL and Mexico football fans are hyped for the big game.
When the Houston Texans and Oakland Raiders play on Monday Night Football, neither team will have home field advantage, but they will have plenty of eager fans.
I'm proud to say that we have the biggest fan base outside of the United States.
For the first time in 11 years, the NFL returns to Mexico, where the league estimates there are 25 million fans of football Americano. Even though soccer dominates, Mexicans' love of football dates back a century. The league now sponsors 6,500 team youth programs like Los Raiders from a Mexico City suburb.
We respect the colors, and we'll defend the colors to death.
Mexico also has two popular college leagues with 36 teams and a 6-team professional league.
The first question I had 8 years ago when I got this post was, why aren't there games in Mexico?
Fans don't have to wait much longer to see the sold-out game at Azteca Stadium.
It's a dream for many of the kids here. They don't have the possibility or haven't gone to a game in the United States. To have the teams in Mexico, it's great for them.
A game that will give American football more yardage in the land of soccer. Matt Friedman, Associated Press.
Christmas season has arrived at California's capital. Decorators placed about 10,000 LED lights on an official tree today. A lighting ceremony with Governor Jerry Brown is scheduled for December 5th. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.